Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and the car behind me is that car from Subaru with the strongest legacy that they have. Of course, it's the Impreza.
Legacy, I see what you did there. Yeah, it's the Subaru's 6th generation Impreza, and apparently it's got everything. Anyway, let's head out back and have a look. Now, Subaru as a brand has been a Kiwi favourite for over 50 years. I mean, we love it because it can go anywhere and do anything. It's got all-wheel drive or symmetrical all-wheel drive and basically a sort of go-anywhere attitude. And that's exactly what this new Impreza's got as well. So it really still has the all-wheel drive or synchronous all-wheel drive and a very much go-anywhere attitude. And which is quite important for something that's really an everyday hatch as well. The Impreza itself was actually the nameplate first came onto the scene in 1992, and you don't stay with 6 generations if you're not great, and this is great. Looking around the front here, you've got the hexagonal grille, which is really the new design language for Subaru. You've got the new Subaru logo, you've got sleek LED headlights and DRLs, and a really funky looking face with plenty of air scoops and stuff like that, just to make sure that airflow is getting round, and actually a lovely little crease in the bonnet here. Hopefully I didn't do that. Our review model comes in what they call pure red. I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting, like emotional or fiery, but pure will do. It's got 18-inch wheels, which are very striking and sort of machine finished, so look really good, with some nice thin rubber on it, which is great for keeping you stuck to the road. Looking down the side here, in lengthwise, it's 4.44 meters long, and height-wise, 1.48 meters tall. So even I can look over the top. It's got a sunroof. It's got a place here for your roof rails, and everything else is kind of really flush and really Impreza-like. The hatch here comes with a lovely roofline spoiler, and there's your stop light, which is cool. Obviously more of your Subaru badging. These lights come out of what we believe is probably the Crosstrek, but don't quote us on those. You've got a nice sort of ruggedy bumper. Actually, it's pretty flimsy here, and also, although this vehicle says it's got everything, it doesn't have a kicker tailgate, so you actually manually open it up to 291 litres of boot space. But look here, you've got a lovely little mountain landscape here, and just very textured with a little Subaru down the bottom here. Anyway, let's look what's under the bonnet. What we have here is a 2-litre boxer engine that's horizontally opposed. I don't really know what that means, and quite honestly don't care. What it kicks out is 115 kilowatts of power and 196 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 is a shade under 10 seconds, so this isn't going to, throw you back in your seat, especially because it's got a lineartronic gearbox, but it actually is quite peppy when it gets moving. And as far as what comes out of the exhaust is 170 grams of CO2, and as far as your fuel efficiency, roughly 7.5 litres per 100 kilometres. So it's all right. It's okay, particularly for around town and on those sort of longer trips that you use a hatchback for. Anyway, speaking of hatchbacks, or is it hatchbacks? Anyway, Matthew's inside and he'll tell you what's going on with that.
Well, even if you do have back trouble, like I suspect Dave does, and so do I, no matter what, the seats in the Impreza are rather kind to your back. They are also leather, so rather kind to, well, the luxurious appeal of an Impreza buyer. Both the driver and passenger seat are heated as well. You do get that, and as well there's 2 levels of it too. So they have really, well, stayed true to the marketing speak and tried to give it everything as much as possible for that $45,000 price tag. Of course, Dave pointed out the sunroof above me, but that's not the only point of luxury in this car. You've got the seats, there's plenty of soft touch materials up the top of the door. There is some scratchy stuff, of course, but that's only to be expected at this price range. You do get a Harman Kardon audio system, a nice badging as well on the speakers. And then it's not just the luxurious bits that they've just gone tick, tick, tick. It's also on the practicalities, because this is, again, a family hatchback. So you do get generous sized door bins, certainly plenty for your bottles of drink on a hot day like today. You've got your 2 cup holders down the middle here, some more storage there, under armrest storage there as well. And then you've got a little nook there for your phone, which has got a wireless charger on it. Plus you've got the option of either having a USB-A, USB-C, or an aux cord as well in terms of connectivity. So they really have thought a lot about that as well. The cabin itself, though, all in all, feels like a nice place to be. You do feel like you're sort of almost engaged to drive this car sportily, and at the same time it is kind enough to a family of 4, as I will show you once I'm in the back. Mounted in a rather tablet-like layout here is the 11.6-inch version of Subaru's Starlink infotainment system. Now, as you can see, it's a mix of, you've got that dominating touchscreen in the middle, and you've got a series of shortcut buttons on either side there. Obviously your 2 knobs for your volume and tuning, and then you've got your air conditioning controls. It is dual zone, as you can see, and then the demisters as well, very easy to access. Little icon over there shows you that it's also got NFC connectivity, so just adding an extra layer of tech to this already packed infotainment screen. As you can see, sat-nav built in, you've got several connectivity options, and then plenty of settings to toggle around with as well. But a feature that I really like of this Starlink system is actually the shortcut icons up the top there, which show you your fuel consumption, your articulation angle, and your acceleration, and you can flick through and see some more options as well at the top, and it also acts like a shortcut system over there. Head back to home, and there you go. Notice the stars in the background there as a little sort of cheeky nod from Subaru to their history and their badge in particular as well. Just like what they've done with the infotainment screen, same thing up here in the cluster. They've gone for a mix of some more old school style analog controls, or display rather, as well as a more futuristic look in the middle as well via that screen. The dials, as you can see, they're typical Subaru style in terms of the way the needles sweep, and you've got the rev counter on the left, of course, speedo on the right, and then in the middle there you've got your basically a plethora of information, if you like, right from the efficiency to the range, and then down the bottom the gearing and ECU map and all of that stuff. Worth pointing out though is that little green eye that you can see highlighted there, and that actually is a nod towards Subaru's eyesight system, which of course is keeping an eye on the driver at all times from a safety perspective, just to make sure that your eyes are always on the road, and it does work really well too. I must make a note of that. Taking a step back to the steering wheel, you've got a really nice sporty feeling unit. There's some sort of quite heavy stitching going on, which feels good to touch. You've got those thumb grips, and it just feels sort of old school Subaru, like you really want to drive this thing, and the steering wheel certainly helps with encouraging that. Despite the fact that it is a CVT or a Lineartronic gear shift system, you do have paddle shifters here, plus and minus. It has got 8 speeds to it as well. And then on the steering wheel itself, your left side buttons control all of your audio controls, like so. And your right side, you've got adaptive cruise control. And worth noting, these S and I icons here, which actually change the ECU mapping essentially, so you can change where you get the torque essentially. Now, Dave and I were actually discussing earlier about how a car like this Impreza is really, well, everything you might need from a car. And that's, I think, really quantified by the fact that when you're in the back here, even for a person like me, just under 6 feet, I've set the driving seat up to my position, and look at that. I've got so much of knee room, plenty of foot room down the bottom, and a lot of headroom as well above me. You can easily sit 2 adults in the back here. A third one is a push, of course, because you've got a rather large central tunnel thanks to the all-wheel drive system in this Impreza. But no matter, it is well and truly made up for the leather upholstery. You do get, of course, plenty of cubbies in and around the back, and a central armrest as well to make things just a little bit more comfortable for passengers in the back here. Anyway, the Impreza badge has never been about the people in the back though. It's always been about the people in the front, and especially the driver. So let's go and take it for a drive.
Alright, so I won't pretend to be thrown back in my chair and just, you know, thrust forward at some almighty rate of knots, because it just isn't there in this Impreza. But what it is, and you can probably hear that now, we're on a really gravel, dusty road, and this is just home territory for this vehicle. The all-wheel drive is just so smooth on here, and the added bonus, which is something that I forgot to say, is the subframe is a whole new platform that's 10% more rigid than before, and Matthew touched on it before. The seats are now welded to the subframe, so therefore when you go around corners, there's none of this going on anymore. You're just going around without the need to just be terrified or vomit, really.
It's something that if you've watched our cross-track review as well, then you would have seen. On paper, the statistic seems like it would make a huge difference, but I think really it's realized when you are driving along, going around corners like these. And for someone like me who has got motion sickness, when I'm, sitting in a car like with Dave as I am now, it makes a big difference. So nice work, Subaru, for doing that.
Yeah, I don't have to change clothing or anything. It's brilliant. Maybe just a bit of underwear every now and again.
While we're on the topic of this sort of gravel road and the Impreza's home territory, I have to say that this car is sitting on 18-inch wheels. You've got about 40 or maybe 35 of a profile on the tires, and we are on a gravel road, but still the undulations and all of that coming through to the cabin are not anywhere near as bad as you would expect from this sort of setup. So again, they really know who their buyer is and how to make a car feel comfortable on a road like this.
Absolutely. Again, Matthew touched on it, the practicalities of the car, they are endless. There's, plenty of space to put your stuff, and also an around town sort of vehicle is actually very roomy. You can drop the rear seats down, get maybe 1,000 litres of space, and also it's quite tidy back there anyway. Then there's the vision. There's plenty of big windscreens. There's even small quarter panels around here, so there's no very minimal blind spots. Even the rear screen is actually really large, and you've got a wiper back there as well, so you can look around very well.
You've also got the sunroof up top there as not just an added luxurious extra, but another way to bring even more light into this cabin on the duller and colder days. And it does work, as well as the improved audio system, Harman Kardon unit, the heated seats, all of those trimmings that they've added to make the Impreza that much more appealing and tick all those boxes, I think, for the hatchback buyer. They've done a really good job with packing as much as, well, they call it everything, packing as much as possible into this car.
They've also added a stereo, they call it a stereo camera system up front. So all of your ADAS, your driver and safety needs have actually been improved. So double vision, really. So not by vision, so you're all over the place, but just better vision up front. And it's got rear cross traffic. It looks out for pedestrians, looks out for bikes, and also, as Matthew said, looks for you as well.
And Subaru's really become big on safety, because this car's got, as all of those safety features, as Dave just noted, you've got 9 SRS airbags, and then they keep on hammering home the point of using that boxer engine. It's not just because of the horizontal opposition where the cylinders are going the other way, but also in the event of a crash where the engine doesn't come at you, basically, the driver and passenger. It more so slots under the body, if you like, or the main sort of passenger cage. So again, safety, but it gives you that performance aspect of having a boxer engine, something a little bit special and unique, and then of course that power being delivered to all 4 wheels.
There is a certain amount of road noise, particularly on anything that's a little bit rough, and there's also a little bit of wind noise through this mirror. So it's not a silent cabin, but I guess you'd have to go for the Solterra or something like that. But we're not shouting, put it that way.
And again, this platform is a really good one, not just for the comfort. That noise, in fact, is probably more so down to the tire choice, one that can be fixed with a little bit more sidewall. So it's not a massive issue. And the platform itself is so good and underpins the Crosstrek as well, which is another car that we've spent time behind. Very similar to this, but I think as the latest generation of Impreza, they've done the best thing that they can with this car, and then left the performance aspect to the WRX, which is a separate arm altogether now.
Yeah, that's really good. That joke. So there you have it, 6th generation Subaru Impreza. It impresses. Actually, it is a nice car. It's not stupidly, it's not the car you're going to necessarily fall in love with, but it's a car that really is fit for purpose, does well, is a great hatchback, is all-wheel drive, and will take you to those places much more than your, I don't know, your regular Corolla or something like that. It's a vehicle that will do nicely in the South Island, and you know, does pretty well on the North Island, to be honest.
Absolutely, it ticks a lot of boxes. It also appeals to that very specific niche of people who need all-wheel drive in a hatchback, while at the same time leaving the excitement for the WRX. So it does a good job all around.
Actually, you're right. WRX will feel that extra bit of excitement. Look at you being right. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you on the next time.